record here. Hi there, this is Rosemary, owner of the Lightwalker's Path and Grow Your Spirit with Rosemary. My website is Hands of Light by Rosemary, located in New Jersey. And this is a place to find your soul's purpose through enlightened conversation and inspirational guests like today's guest, Lindsay Sudeikis. How are you, Lindsay?
Oh, brilliant. No complaints.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Lindsay is an educator, advocate, facilitator, and voice to what is unseen. And her business, Omnia Sancta, means all is holy. And I love the name of her business, and I love her mission in life and what she stands for and how she brings light to people. So,
Oh,
welcome, welcome. So happy that you're here today.
yeah, no, so lovely to be here, Rosemary. I mean, anyone who's listening has to love your name. The
Oh,
namesake alone is brilliant, Rosemary, because it's all about the heart. Yeah.
yeah, it certainly is, and that's kind of like my thing is like Rose for my mother, Maria from Mary for my grandmother, and from Mother Mary.
Yeah.
So kind of all about compassion, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And if I remember when we had chatted, you have a lot of those Italian
I
people that you're
do.
coming downstream from. Yeah. Salute
Yes,
them.
yeah. All my ancestors are from Italy, so that's part of
Brilliant.
our cultural love.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You had such a cool, interesting background to me, when you spoke last time. So
Good.
I know that you started out as a nun. So I want to ask you, when you started that in your life, how old were you, and how was your life living as a nun at that point in your life?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I was 22 when I entered the convent, so I had
Okay.
just finished university. I'm currently on the west coast of Ireland, and so everyone here they call it university, right? They don't say college.
Okay.
So do I. But so I finished university studying philosophy and playing college basketball, and then I entered, yeah, July 2nd, and I was 22 years old, and I loved it. And actually, the namesake I was given in the convent was in Italian. It's beautiful. It was just it was on September 14th, many moons ago,
Uh-huh.
uh, on a big feast day of the order that I was in. And it's a lovely ceremony. You kind of come forward and you're in your
Uh,
religious habit, and they say, Sister Lindsay Sudeikis, come forward. You'll now be concealed to the world, and
oh,
and your name will be Maria del Divino Amore. And I didn't know what it meant because I didn't know Italian at the time, but
okay.
my soul thought, this is it, And so how beautiful that my name
Yes.
was known as Divino Amore through my 20s there. And I loved it. Yeah, there was a lot of joy in religious
Yeah.
life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I worked with young people, and I worked in hospice, and I
Oh,
worked in immigration.
wonderful.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yes.
We lived a real contemplative, active
Yes.
life.
So
It was
when you
brilliant.
were a nun, were you in Italy at the time?
I was, yeah, for a
Or
bunch of years. I was in Italy, and then um, I was sent to Rome for a couple of years, and then I was sent back to the United States,
isn't that
uh,
something? Wow.
DC, and then I was sent up to Toronto. Yeah,
Okay. So my question is, when you left there, what
yeah,
was the impetus to tell you that it was time to shift away from that beautiful religious order into the next phase of your life to start what you're doing now? Did that
yeah,
also feel like your calling, or you just needed to shift, or was there something that you said, I really need to make changes? So what
right.
happened for you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. No, it certainly felt like a calling. It was almost, I love this, my Nana, my mom's mom. I was close with both my grandmothers, my dad's mom and my mom's mom. My mom's mom, though, Nana had said, when I left the convent, sort of crossed the threshold from the convent, into New York City, of all places.
Mm-hmm.
She said, the scenery's changed, but you
Mm.
haven't, and so it felt that there were these whispers that I heard, sort of like, Divino
Yes.
Amore, this isn't your final
Oh, getting
destination. And it was,
chills.
yeah. And it was
Mm.
curious because I clearly there was a lot of, generosity and just shared language and something beautiful, Rosemary, that I know you would appreciate also as an educator for many moons and as a healing
Mm-hmm.
arts practitioner. There was something beautiful about it that, you didn't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
You just were about the thing,
Yes.
and so and yet, nonetheless, after several years and many moons, I thought, wow, the hour has come where I felt called by God to sort of deny
Mm-hmm.
myself, pick up my cross, and follow
Mhm.
Isa, Jesus, into the just to be with the people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I did it in a way, I spoke with my spiritual director and my
Yeah.
superior and the bishop at the time and all of that. And it was, I'm grateful to have landed in New
Hmm.
York.
Hmm.
It was lovely. I landed there. My siblings, who I'm very close with, were living there. Some of
Hmm.
my best friends from Kansas City, who I grew up with, who are
Hmm.
artists also, they were living there. The order
Hmm.
that I was in had a convent that was just up the road in Harlem. One of my best friends from
Nice.
college, who was the most superior there. So New York just, it made
Yes.
sense, and it sort of, okay, here I am.
Interesting.
Here I am, Lord.
It's
I
amazing.
come to hopefully be of divino amore,
Beautiful.
of
One of
love.
my friends that I taught with for many years was actually a nun in Portugal. And
Oh,
she
brilliant.
had a spontaneous healing two times in her life from Padre Pio,
Yeah,
one when she was a child and one as an adult when she, her wisdom tooth impacted. And she almost died, and he healed her when he was in spirit. And he
yes.
showed her her children, her husband, and all the, I'm getting chills just talking
Yeah.
about it, her
Oh, yeah.
children and her husband, and the next part of her journey. And she became a teacher with
Mm.
me and a wonderful woman. And now, she works for an organization called Mary's Hands, and she
Oh,
does a lot of charity and kind work through
ex-
through Mother Mary, and she's still on her mission in a different way. So it
yeah,
just reminded me when you were
yeah.
speaking about how you find your path at different times in your life.
Yes, that's
Really
right.
beautiful.
I love that. And almost like they're different vignettes. And you
Yes.
have to tell your friend, just yesterday was the feast of Padre Pio, actually.
Okay.
September
Okay.
23rd. And it's so fun on our cousin thread. We have all these brilliant cousins, 25 or so first cousins. And on the text thread that comes through, happy feast of Padre Pio, for
Yes.
those who celebrate, because we all knew him.
That's
Again, because
beautiful.
that same Nana was very connected to him, but he's
Yes.
very powerful. He's such a
Yes.
mystic lover, Padre Pio, he's
Yeah.
really. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the lineage I think any of us hope to be in, of that the mystic love of
Pure
it.
mysticness. Yeah.
Yeah,
I yeah, I was telling when I went to Italy, I had visited where St. Francis was buried, St. Francis of Assisi. And as I was down in where he was buried, I was getting my whole body was chilling. I
yeah,
felt the religious presence of other people following me that
that's
were
right.
in spirit. And it
Ooh,
was so strong. I was moved to tears just being in that room. And I just
mm,
felt
mm,
like I knew it. It's like it felt familiar to me. And it's
mm.
strange. I was born, I guess, on either his feast day or his birthday, October 4th.
Oh, that's his feast day.
It is his feast day. And I
Miracle.
always had
Okay,
a thing with
found.
animals and with St. Francis
Oh,
and
wow. Oh,
also
brilliant.
St. Teresa, which I noticed you had a connection with St. Teresa. I started
Yes.
getting roses when I was 23 from her. And
Yeah,
like bizarre, like crazy, like out of the blue, after you say your prayer, you get gifted with a rose.
that's right.
And it's been amazing. And of
Yeah,
course, Mother Mary, I have a connection with that as well. Although
sure.
I'm open to all faiths and I'm very open with the idea that God's in everything, everyone,
Yes,
in the trees, like it's everything. It's a big creative
absolutely.
force that's too big to fit into one tiny place.
No, absolutely. All of that, and Francis of Assisi and the interwovenness of it
Yes.
all, and surely La Madonna, as you'd say in
Yes.
Italy, right? Or Muera, as you'd say here in
Yeah.
Ireland. Of course, she would affirm, that all is holy,
All is
whether
holy.
it's the forest or the earth beneath our feet or,
Yes.
celestial
I believe.
stardust we come, all of that. Just yesterday I'm here really in Connemara and was just in the Aran Islands, in these
Uh,
days, really the coast and the
yes.
with the mystic lovers of these lands. And I'm in the pub yesterday, and the gentleman Michal comes up to me, says, "Hey, anyway, oh, so now where are you from?" He can't do his accent
Yeah,
brilliant, but asked me where I was from. He said, "Now, what do you believe in anyway?" I thought,
yeah.
sir, I just looked at him wide. I said, "Oh, well, that we belong to each other." And he just
Uh-huh.
sort of looked at me. He said, "Ah." I said, "Well, and that we have a maker that made it
Yes.
so." And he sort of, it was brilliant. It was such
Yeah.
a kind moment, of warm eyes to warm
Yes.
eyes. But it was funny because I had been talking to this gentleman, Joseph and Gerard, for maybe an hour or
Oh,
so about, philosophy and
yes,
politics,
yes,
life.
yes.
And he sort of overheard. And so Michal comes up after an hour and asks a very, very, but I thought, I don't think I've ever been asked that in my whole
Yes.
life.
That's
Just
beautiful.
directly, what do you believe in?
What do you believe in? Yes. I love that. I love,
He
you gotta
maybe had
love
a
that.
pint or two. Good man. He's a good man. Yeah.
Oh, love
Kind
that.
heart.
I also read that you have a lot with ancestral connections and healing, and I don't know what Degora wisdom is. Is that nature wisdom and connection with Earth? Is that what
Yeah.
you mean?
Well, yeah, Dagara wisdom,
Degara,
it's
okay.
from the western coast of Africa, from a
Okay,
town called a little country country called Burkina Faso.
okay,
It's on the western coast there. And what's brilliant about Burkina Faso is that town never got colonized because when the British were there, they thought, oh, it's so tiny that they won't even
okay.
kind of, they'll just off they go, let them be. And
All
they've
right.
had their wisdom tradition for, they say thousands and
Isn't
thousands.
that neat?
That would be very similar to that maybe more animist way
Yeah.
of the way Isa and Wera, Jesus and Mary, and those early mystic lovers of
Okay.
wisdom traditions would have been communing with the sea, with the
Yeah.
stones, with
Yeah.
the
Kind of like
earth.
goddess energy and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so interesting because, as you go through all the world cultures and all the religions, there's always this thread of compassion and light and dark, and it's
yeah.
very similar stories, even the creation story of
That's right.
how things came to be. And it doesn't mean one's wrong and one's right. It's this
Yeah,
thread of what's true through
that's right.
different cultures, and it's just
Yeah.
expressed different ways.
Yes, no, it's
Oh,
so
I see
beautifully
it.
said. And I remember actually when I studied philosophy and was playing, college ball in DC, there was this great philosopher, Thomas Aquinas.
Oh,
And in
yes.
some ways he gets misunderstood because a big thing of his in the 13th century was just what you said,
Yeah,
that where truth is, there is the holy and there is
there
beauty.
is.
And
Yeah.
it was in Jewish tradition, in Muslim
Yes.
tradition, because he loved Avicenna and Averroes, and he had deep
Yes.
connection. So it was like wherever there is being,
Wherever there's
with
love, wherever there's love, I think you find
yeah,
God. That's what I
yeah,
think.
yeah, no, and he absolutely, and he would affirm that, it was a realist,
Yes.
in the sense that exactly wherever there
Yeah.
is that
Whenever
love. And
there's
I
love.
think too, you know. you have to kind of wonder, it's almost, in the current moment, what have we done? I was
We
even
split people up too far. I think
so
that's what happened. I think we split. So, and I think when you have a split of this is the only right thing and you can't be open to other things, then what happens is it's like I'm right and you're wrong. And then you have that judgment. And then you're
that,
not working from spirit. You're not working from God. And it's
that's
interesting. One of my clients, a lovely, lovely woman that I'm now friends with,
mm,
she's Orthodox Jew, but she's so open-minded and
yeah,
she's amazing. And she'll tell me things. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's very similar to the Christian, because obviously Old Testament, New Testament, but she was even talking about Jewish mysticism, how they
that's right.
have the rabbis when they open a book and then they
Yeah,
read a passage, which
yeah,
I've always done with the Bible
yeah,
and with other
that's right.
things. That
Yeah,
came from Jewish tradition.
that's
I'm like,
right.
that's cool. So
Yes, no,
she teaches
brilliant.
me, her culture, and I speak about ours, and it's
Yeah.
just a lovely meeting of the minds.
No, it's so beautiful. And I love that you're presencing our Jewish king, because of course Shana Tova is what they're all uttering in these days, because it's the Jewish New Year in
Yes,
these
yes,
hours, So it's beautiful
yes,
to presence those. And speaking of ancestors, I mean, those are the ancestors for any one who's sort of Catholic
yes,
Christian, that our ancestors of faith are certainly, the,
absolutely.
who have come before us in that way. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So, okay, this is going to be a woo-woo question, and you can answer or not. But I have been visited by angels, and I've seen light, and I've seen energy, and I've gotten information, and I channel. So that's all woo-woo. But my question is, when you do the things you do, because we're all connected, I believe everyone has different abilities, and
Yeah.
many the same in different degrees. I know you have a connection with ancestors. Do you dream of them? Do you just feel inspired by them? Do you have any unusual things that happen to you that you want to share? And it's okay either way. I just thought
No,
I'd
it's
ask
great.
you.
Oh, it's a great question. No, I would dream of them loads. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would. The dreams would come. What's interesting too with the ancestors, I have this fun little, I don't know, teach or, come gathering that I do called the Mighty Dead. And it's
Mhm.
about, the ancestors of path, nurturance, and bone. Because I
Oh,
think sometimes we have the ancestors of path. You and I would feel very connected to St. Francis of Assisi or
yes.
St. Therese of Lisieux or St. Teresa of Avila. We're not connected to them by blood and bone, but we
No.
feel They're our ancestors.
Kindred. Yes,
They were
kindred.
kindred, so sometimes I'm dreaming of them or communing with them. And then of course there's our ancestors of bone, which are the one, your Italian kin,
Yes,
my Irish
yes,
kin, my Lithuanian kin, and then your ancestors of nurturance, the ones who were sort of your aunties who were
yes.
loving on you, or were loving on your grandmother, loving on your great
Yeah.
grandfather, but weren't the aunties from the village or the uncles,
Right,
the ones
right,
who were
right, right.
loving. And so
Community.
in that case, I think, yeah, I would say there's sort of a uh that it's full, when I kind of drop into that place of the heart, of prayer,
Hmm.
of vastness for, from my own heart, and for the heart of the world, that it's like there's loads of us who are gathered there, who are communing, and who are praying, and who are interceding. I'm not sure what the right language is, hard for all of it, but yeah, there's, yes, to answer your question,
Connection.
there to be connection. And I don't think, Rosemary, I think what you do, or maybe what I do, I don't think it is so woo. Remember when
No.
we were chatting a couple weeks ago, so much of science is affirming the
Yes,
things that you do for, with your
yes.
life's work, and what I do for our
Connection.
lives. And
Yeah,
we so praise, because finally science has come round to what,
yeah.
the mystic lovers, the poets, Mevlana
Yes.
Rumi, and
Oh,
you know,
Rumi. Oh, I love Rumi.
oh, I love that Rumi.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
praise, my
yes.
gosh. Alhamdulillah. What they've been, musing and conduiting for
Mm-hmm,
centuries. Now
mm-hmm.
science says, oh yeah, oh indeed, we are inherently and organic connected. And
We
we're like,
definitely are.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we're pleased you've arrived. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, by soul, everybody's intertwined. And I've always believed that,
Yes.
when I look at someone, it's not your skin or your face, it's like this soul connection with people that is so intertwined with
Yeah.
just being human. One
Yeah.
of the cool things is years ago I was pregnant. I just had my son. Oh, actually,
Yeah.
no, I was pregnant for my son back when I was 20, I don't know, 30, 29, I think I was pregnant for him. And I was really, really sick. And Saint Teresa came to me and she was holding, in my dream, she held a bouquet of flowers and she said, "Do you want this child without a husband?" And at the time, I was married. I didn't like, "Why are you asking me this?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And right after my son was born, that's when my marriage broke up. And,
Mm.
but I was given that choice of, do you want this son? I said, absolutely. There's no, absolutely,
Mm.
So it's very unusual how these things happen. So I've
Yeah,
had
but
a lot of
Rosemary,
strange experiences.
who else had a child without a husband?
I know.
You're right, La Madonna. I
Yes,
mean,
but mine didn't come the same way.
yeah,
I had,
yeah,
mine was old fashioned, the old
fair, yeah,
fashioned way.
exactly. Yeah, brilliant. But but in the lineage, as far as
Yes,
the faith, the active trust that
yes.
that it took. Yeah, no, oh, it's brilliant. And in your Saturn return, nonetheless, at 29, what a turning point
There
in
you
your
go.
life.
There
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Yeah,
Oh,
I've had odd things. There was another woman that came to me for some sort of reading, and
yeah,
she wanted to know, like, how she would meet her loved one or her husband or whatever, her boyfriend. And the angels and Mother Mary came in really strong. And I said, it's going to be a connection with Mother Mary. She goes, I'm
yeah,
not Catholic. I don't really aspire to Mother Mary. I said, it doesn't matter. She's
yeah.
there and she's setting you up with this person and you will know. So
Oh,
about 2 weeks later, she says, you're never going to guess. She goes, a friend of mine invited me to go into a church. She said, and there's this guy and he saw me and he hands me a Mother Mary on a religious card.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
said he was attracted to her. So they started going out. Now she's with him. But she
Oh,
says, can you believe it? And it was just like this strange, like,
yeah.
connection that she would have never believed,
Exactly,
But
exactly.
yes,
I
I
love
just,
that
we're all
though.
tools. We're all tools.
Yeah. And those synchronicities.
I love those
I say with folks I
synchronicities.
work with all the time that, just sort of notice after a session, I'll say, just notice, be even more
Yes.
attentive to conversations you have, dreams
Yes.
you have, songs that sort of pop up.
Songs.
Because I think those synchronicities
That's
are
it.
twofold. One, I think they're echo backs, from the cosmos, from
I
God's
believe it.
self, the ancestors, from the angels saying, yeah, yeah, we're real. And secondly, I think they're echo backs to say you're in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
You know
Oh,
what I
I,
mean? When
I
those synchronicities
totally
are,
believe that.
yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. We call them
I think,
God winks. My girlfriend and I call them God winks
oh,
because
I
they're
love that.
synchronicities that are, Carl Jung said,
That's,
when they start coming in, that's that
yeah,
direct connection. And I always
that's,
say, when you start getting coincidences, it's not a coincidence.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what happened with me. I was getting them my entire life, and it was like
Yeah,
almost laughable, like so
yeah,
many. I'm like, okay,
Right,
I get it. I get it. I get
right.
it. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love it. I love it. Brilliant.
Yes, yes,
The
yes, yes.
laughter I love, Padre Pio, one of his great known quote, utterances is praise the Lord with laughter.
Oh,
Isn't
I
that
love
great?
that.
Padre Pio, what a human. What a
Yes,
human, what a
that's
man. Right? I love that. Praise the Lord with laughter, because in the laughter there's
there's
something.
joy.
Then yeah,
There's joy.
everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah,
Even though things are so complicated. It's like when the laughter it softens our hearts a bit. It's almost like
yes,
an elixir for the
yes,
soul. Yeah.
yes, yes. That's why those funny movies are so good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Cheers.
Love that. Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know I went to your website and some of the things that you offer. So I'd like you to tell me about like one or two of the things that when your clients come to you, what are some of the things that you do to shift your clients?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I think some of my bread and butter these days has been this ancestral connection,
Mm-hmm.
the ancestral healing, but really ancestral connection of, folks are in a lot of the folks I work with are in those big questions of life of either maybe they're wanting to get married or they're
Mm-hmm.
longing to get, to be pregnant, or maybe they're just on the other side of
Mm-hmm.
separation and they're in a life transition, or they're in their, late 60s and they're in another initiation of life of being croned, or
Mm-hmm.
folks who are sort of in the deep end of life and are kind of, who am I now? It would be
Mm-hmm.
their first rodeo.
Reinventing their life.
Yeah, and just wondering who in this season of my life, on the precipice of this initiation or on the other side of this
Yes.
initiation, of great grief. I would work with folks with
Yeah.
inside serious grief. And so, the ancestors can come in as a way to just bring some good old fashioned
Yeah.
balm and
Yeah.
buoyancy and
Yes.
blessing, because
Mm.
people have been connecting with their ancestors from
Forever.
millennia.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
That's
only in
right.
modernity that we're like, oh, the ancestor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, those are your relatives and
Yeah,
your loved
come
ones
on.
and your, your
Yeah, we're
guides
not
and your
here with,
angels.
yeah, we're not here without them. And so it's beautiful because just in a few sessions, I can do some bits with people and kind of give them the tools where then off they go, where how they can connect and almost cultivate their own practice of remembering and belonging of the land. And even if folks don't know necessarily much about because it's not the recent ones so much.
Yeah, sometimes
Even
it's
going
back.
into
Yeah.
it's that deeper time, when you and I, we can find each other with that Italian wisdom
Mm-hmm.
tradition cosmology and my Irish and Lithuanian
Mm-hmm.
wisdom tradition cosmology. It's like, oh, there's a recognition there, and so
Yeah.
how did they commune with just now? We just had equinox,
Yes.
oh gosh, they were doing that
Yeah.
for millennia. So
They
just
have
remember
been.
of that, but I think some of my thing, Rosemary, is just trying to make it more practical.
Yeah, so give them a tool to use. Yeah.
Yeah, just be
Teach a
down to
man to
earth.
fish, as they
Yeah,
say, right?
really. And just be down to earth with the thing. You know,
Yes.
I'm chilling.
Yes.
I play
Yes.
basketball, I sip
It's
on a
that
whiskey.
well-grounded energy, the tree energy, you're well-grounded in the earth, but open
Yes.
to God, which is
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, all
Thank
right,
you.
so
Yeah.
do you teach them like are you helping them with, let's say, meditation to do this? Are they just being aware through your connection with their ancestors?
No, actually, what I try to do actually, 99 point, I don't know, 5% of the time is I'm more connecting them with their wise and well ancestors.
Okay,
So I'm
cool.
just
You're
facilitating the
facilitating
experience,
and you're
you know,
seeing it, right?
Yeah.
You're
And
seeing it
I'm holding a container with,
for
with
their
my maker and with the elements and with
love
the
it.
ancestral wellness of that I'm backed by praise, and just holding that container for them to connect with their wise and well ones. So that way they
Love
can
that.
kind of they get in that ritual, almost ritual
Mm-hmm.
hygiene, ritual practice. And then what's
Yes.
curious is so often, that falls into the spiritual sort of accompaniment work that I do, because I
Yes.
also do spiritual counseling, and in that space, sometimes folks are wondering, well, how can I connect more
How can I
intimately
connect?
with my maker, with God? Or how can I
Yeah.
connect more intimately with the elements?
Yes.
Or how
Yes.
can I connect more with my soma, with my nervous system, with my
Love that.
destiny? And so the two go very hand in hand.
Yes.
Might be in a spiritual, counseling session that after maybe 20 minutes or so of listening and tuning in, I thought, oh, we might just drop in here with the ancestors. And then sometimes when connecting with the ancestral terrain, I thought, oh, well,
Brings you back.
yeah, it might
Yeah,
just be, oh, how's your heart?
it's
Or
beautiful.
how's your prayer life? Or what's your sense of your destiny these days? And
That's
that's also where the
beautiful.
divination comes in.
Hmm.
This other practice I do, because it's just doing ritual.
Yeah,
You
and I think it could be very simple. I think people make it very difficult. Like for me, I start with God, let me be a channel of blessing and light to anyone I see
that's
today. And at night, have I harmed anyone through word, deed, knowingly or not unknowingly? I bless, if I've hurt anyone's feelings. I mean, I go through the whole thing. So I do that morning and night, and I've done this since I've been really young.
I
And it's
see.
it's my mom always told me, and this was the beautiful thing. She said, our souls come in like a beautiful white cloth. And every time you do something hurtful or harmful, you get a dark smudge. And the only way to remove the smudges is to ask God for help and to
Oh,
remove them. And it, for me, as a really young kid, I'm like, I actually said, oh, I want my cloth to be nice and white. So I have
yeah,
to do the right thing. And it was just like a perfect way to describe what it's like when you pray and when you
yeah,
ask God for help. And I
yeah.
thought that was
Beautifully
a wonderful
said.
thing.
Yes, no, and the practicality of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's what's
Something
brilliant.
simple. Something simple.
Yes, something simple.
Beautiful.
It's in there's no wonder why Jesus was using bread and wine.
Oh,
Something that
yes.
was so the bread is the sustenance and the wine is the feasting and
Yes,
the
yes,
conviviality of it, the
yes,
delight
the
of it.
community.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that. How do we just so in our own sort of hearts, because I think when folks can sort of tune in with from whence they've come, just like
Mm-hmm.
when you tell that story about your mom,
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's something grounding when we can
Mm-hmm.
know that piece. And I think it's important in the 21st century to kind of know from whence we've come. So if there's anything, just as you're doing in the morning and night since you
Mm-hmm.
were little, how is it you're wanting to be accountable for who
Yes.
you are in the world and how you are
Yes.
in the
And how you
world.
show up and
And
how you present and
yeah,
how you help.
and how much that ripples out, to
Yes.
the world. I
Yes.
think I think how we do one thing makes me almost tender, to think
Mhm.
about. But I think how we do one thing is how we do anything.
Yeah, I,
Oh,
I I get that. Yeah.
yeah, there's something, to all of that. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, you and I are on the same, we're on the same página, we're on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also say, like, us as people that want to shift and change and help other people, I think
Yeah.
the more people that we can help, it's like that giant web. And the angels, yeah, years ago I channeled, like back in 93, I started. And one of the
Oh,
things they told me was, as you develop more light in yourself and you're connecting with other people, they connect with other people and it spreads the light. And,
that's
we're all cells of God, is what they told me, or like water droplets from the all that is. And
that's
when
it.
your soul goes back, you bring this gift of light back to God, and it's in the giant all that
Yeah.
is. And we
Oh,
become
that's
a
lovely.
piece of God again until we're
Yeah.
poured back in to learn more lessons. So
Oh,
it's
that's
kind of like it always stayed with me as a
oh,
very easy understanding of whatever you do and what choices you make can either bring you light or darkness. And you can
yeah.
either help or you can hurt based on your choices, what you do, what you
Yeah.
resonate with, and the love that you bring out or not.
Yes.
It's
No,
all
well,
in our free will. That's why
yeah,
God gave us free will.
that's right. Yeah, no, beautifully said. And I love that. It's very roomy of you, the droplet, the cell of God or the
Yes,
drop.
yes. Well, that's them. I'm
Yeah,
just a mouthpiece here.
yeah, no, it's brilliant. The one thing I'll say, it's interesting. Now, I don't know if this is because I was born in January, but I love the dark. And I've done lots of, this thing with the dark. I thought a lot about how like the sacredness,
Shadow side.
holiness
Yeah.
of the dark, because we're all gestating in the womb of our
We're in the
mothers.
womb. Yeah.
Black, and all of our food is gestating in the nutrient dense
Yes.
black soil, and me having been born in January, shout out to my
Yes.
mom, and all the things, right?
Yes.
My
Yes.
father, all the things, but there's something that feels even at night,
Mm-hmm.
darkness that, as the sun goes down and the stars are out, and we
Mm-hmm.
stardust from whence we've come. So I think I almost feel, the part of me that, when I had to kind of, what's my, on my sweet little, business card. And I thought, well, you know, an educator, facilitator, advocate. giving voice to what is unseen,
Unseen,
unknown, and longing to be included.
longing to be
I
the
think
seed.
the dark
You're a
longs to
seed
be
planter.
included. Well,
Yes.
but the seeds are in the dark.
Yes.
There's just something about the sacredness, and I think sometimes with our language, we just, language can only get us so far.
Hmm.
I wonder about there's so much wisdom. Even
Hmm.
now as the sun starts to descend, after equinox,
Hmm.
we're marching towards Samhain, towards
Love that. Yes.
Eve, towards Halloween,
Yeah.
and it's so dark.
Dark.
From November 1st to February, it's just,
Yeah, it's like a rest and a reset.
yeah,
That's so interesting. I wrote something. Well, I won something because I like to write, and it was about how God plants a seed. So I was saying about how I planted a seed in my garden, and it was a watermelon seed, and I prayed over my garden. I love my plants and my all this. And in the spring, it was covered up with leaves and things, and I picked it up, and it was a little watermelon, and I cut it, and it had an angel in it. It had a
oh,
pink angel inside. And I said, you know what? I said, God planted an angel for me.
oh,
And
I love it. Oh, I love it.
it was a
Oh,
blessing to find it. So I
oh, it's
wrote about how, sometimes your seeds are in the dark and until they're ready to bloom, you don't know what blessings you have. You just
that's
have to
right.
have faith.
That's right. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. And how brilliant. Did there be an angel in the watermelon?
It
I
was the
mean,
coolest thing,
what
really.
an echo back. Talk about a synchronicity. Say,
Yes,
oh,
yes,
keep
yes,
doing what you're doing. Yeah, keep channeling. Keep
yes.
communing with the angels in that way. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
brilliant.
And then when I had my patio put in, it was like the guy was, nailing down the patio blocks. And I
Yeah,
looked down and there was one that actually had an angel in it. And he didn't even know he did it. I had him over. I said, "Did you do this on purpose?" He goes, "No, just
wow.
putting down bricks." And it
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
had an angel. I'm like,
Oh,
all right. God's giving me
exactly.
the thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
lovely. And the angels, gosh, so etheric.
So strong energy. I mean,
Oh,
the first one that communicated with me was Uriel. And
yes.
that one just like stood behind me, and I actually felt like heat through my entire body. And then I was told, put your hands on the keys, pray to God, and just let me do what I have to do. And I started channeling my first message. And I didn't know what it was. So of course, I go and give it to this person at a meeting who turned out to be a minister. And he
Yeah.
says, "Oh, this is Uriel, and it's the light in the dark, and you're supposed to bring this light out." And I
Mhm.
mean, it was just
Yeah,
incredible. But that's
right.
kind of when I started, doing my channeling.
It's
I got
so
the okay from a minister. I was like, okay, good.
yeah, you go. Yeah, exactly. And let me ask you this. No, Rosemary, had you with the angels, when I was young, they say in like Catholic folk tradition
Yeah.
that if you want to know the name of your guardian angel, that
Hmm.
before you go to bed at night, you ask,
You
what's
ask.
the name of my angel? And then in the morning, the name that you wake up with, that's your angel. Your
Yes.
angel's name. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
So, yes, but it's weird because when I had asked my angel's name, I got the name Celeste. And at the time I was eating Celeste pizza. So I thought it was ridiculous. So I did a angel workshop with a bunch
Yeah,
of people, and a
yeah,
lady raised her hand, and I was teaching them like how to connect with the divine through
yeah,
prayer and all that. So she
yeah.
raises her hand, she says, "I have a message from you. Celeste says, good job." And I started laughing because she
That's
didn't know
so
what my
good.
angel's name was. And it was
Wow.
just like a little God wink, like, yeah, you're busting on us, but that's really my
Yeah,
name.
exactly. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
And how appropriate. Oh,
Yes,
heaven. When
yes.
I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13, I can't remember. I was young. The name that came is George. So
George.
George and Rosemary, I am telling you, George, my guardian angel, many of my dear friends from all these seasons of my life, when
Uh-huh.
I'd be in high school, in college, university, in the convent, as an educator doing this healing arts work, so many dear ones know about George, my guardian
Oh,
angel. I say to them, I say, if you need something, ask him. He is the fidelity of this
beautiful.
being is brilliant. I mean, it's even today. I was off in the far coast here in Inishmaan, this island, off that,
Uh-huh.
and I knew the ferry was coming back around 4:30 or so, and I was way far from where
Yeah,
I said, "Well, George, anyway, you'll sort it." You know what I mean? George,
yeah, yeah.
keep showing me the way, and I just
Yes.
keep walking, and sure enough, after a few kilometers, there it was, the ferry
I
was
love
a bit,
that.
but
Yeah.
he so powerful how we have these angels that are assigned to us when
Yes.
we're conceived.
And we don't even know. We don't even know. I mean, I worked on a little girl who had cancer. I did Reiki on her. She had a brain tumor. And she told me that she said she was seeing angels in the room, like above her. And she
Wow.
said, "You don't have to help me. You have to help my mommy because she needs it
Oh,
more than I do." And the kid was 6 years old.
yeah.
So like that happened. I've had a lot of kids that were very connected. Another one of my clients came in and she started crying. I go, "What's the matter?" She says, "My guardian angel has been in your office." She said she's over there. And she
Oh,
said, "I wondered where she went." And she told me that she's watching you and she's helping you with your work.
oh, I love
Like
it.
what? But
Yeah,
it was just super cool that
yeah.
it just always amazes me. It always makes me feel so happy and joyful that I'm allowed to be used in a way that can help
Yeah.
people in this way.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I
Well,
know
because
you do
you
the
do.
same.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, because you too giving voice to what is unseen.
Yeah.
Because they're so right there. And then it's
Yeah.
so beautiful because once you know, you can't not
You
know.
can't unknow. That's
It's
true. They
it's
come in.
brilliant. It's like a course. You know what I mean? Celeste and George are like, yeah, you're welcome, ladies.
George
I'm
and
the one who
Celeste will be
orchestrated this.
friends.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we did. My sister, what a love. She's a dream, and her guardian angel is Grace. You know, when we say, oh,
Grace.
Grace and George have, have frolicked around in ways we don't even know.
Yes.
But it's
Yes.
true. And they're orchestrating things that we
Behind the
don't know. And
scenes.
I think the ancestors are similar. You can feel
Yes.
it too. I imagine there's a similar plane. Because they're just right there,
And
and
together.
similar to the angels. Of course they want to be of presence
Yeah.
and of joy and of help. If
Yes.
you, the mother, want to help your son out,
That's
or me
right.
as an auntie would do anything for my niece and nephew, then of course the great great grandmother's like, yeah, darling, just ask, would you? I'm
Yes,
here.
yes, here I am. But you
I'm
have to
ready.
ask. That's
Yes,
giving permission. Like I know, like prayer is an ask.
that's
It's like I allow, I'm asking. And I always say, like they can't intervene without you giving complete permission. Like I really need you in your life. God, are you
right.
there? And I say you don't have to do a classic prayer. You
Yeah,
just could say, God, I'm here, help me. Angels come in and help me through God, and
right.
you're helped. And
Yeah.
it's just, you have to have faith that you are. Faith
And
is
like you
mustard
said
seed.
before, yeah, like
Yeah.
that, and like what you said before, because it's about the free will piece.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's being honored and all of that. I love what you say too, because it is about the allowing.
Yes.
About the allowing. I hesitate. I don't know if I'm helping anyone. I think I'm more just allowing sort of life to
You're
happen
yeah,
in a
you're a
way that
vessel for this light.
I think
You're a
so. Trying
vessel.
to be anyway, and it's
Yeah.
so much about the relationship of it all.
Yes.
And I think that was a piece too, the ancestral, our Irish kin, similar to how it was when I was in the comment, they're so relational. They're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about the thing. They're just
Mm-hmm.
being about life,
There you
They're
go.
living in symbiosis with the elements, and
Love
they're,
that.
they're around the fire, and they have their garden, and they're with their pint, and they're just with the people. They do
Yeah.
anything for you, but
Yeah.
they don't talk about it. They just be
They
about
just
it.
do. It's the action. It's the action unseen and quiet
That's
behind the
right.
scenes.
That's right. But with
Love
so
that.
much heart, with so much Cree, with so
Yes.
much, and that Divino Amore piece, I do think, I
Yeah.
do think and please God, inshallah, when I breathe my last, and that realm of beauty that, with
Mm-hmm.
that cacophony of the sweetness and the delight, that that's the name that I think I'll be known by, is
Yes.
More. That
I
feels
love that.
true to my essence in that way.
Yeah.
And Sudeikis, my last name also has such resonance for me. It has since I was little, since
Yeah.
I was 6 or 7, I always thought, gosh, what is that? There's
Yeah.
also a lot of neat meetings in that last name,
Energy.
which is beautiful. Yeah,
Love
so
that.
but because it's part of our destiny,
Yeah.
our name.
Yeah.
That's why we began when I say, when your name Rosemary, it's like, come on. Of course,
Rosemary Teresa, by the way.
yeah.
My
It's
middle
like,
name.
yeah, exactly. You got claimed
Uh,
long ago. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. So tell me again, I want you to mention your website so people can contact you.
Ah, yeah, brilliant. Well, you could go, I did it two ways. You could go through my name, Lindsay
Okay.
Sudeikis, which is there, and then also through, Omnia Sancta. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so
Either way.
thrilled that I got to spend time with you today.
Oh
You
my
were
gosh,
a
what a gift.
delight.
Yeah.
And so
No,
I hope people do contact you. And, mine is the Lightwalker's Path, rosemaryd.com. So I hope people will also, catch up with me. And you've been such a delight and a blessing.
oh, yeah, no,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much for grazie amo Dio. No, grazie.
Oh,
Thank you.
grazie.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rosemary. Cheers.
Okay.